morning. Welcome to today's video. Today's video isn't necessarily the happiest topic, but I feel like it needs to be talked about. So yeah, welcome to the video. Embrace yourself. There are going to be topics of, obviously, part of this is about being a type 1 diabetic. There's going to be talk of depression, suicidal thoughts, and just general thoughts of not wanting to live. So please keep that in mind before you watch this video. So now that I have put that disclaimer in there, I'll just kind of get into the topics. More on just kind of where all of this started for me. So I think I first experienced diabetic burnout and diabetic depression, depression related to my type 1 diabetes. When I was about 17, roughly year and a half, 2 years, until I was about 19. In this time, I had stopped seeing my endocrinologist that took me as a kid from time I was diagnosed at 4 to 17. I had probably just turned 17 and we just stopped going. I was going to see my primary care physician who was signing the prescriptions. And she was just basically giving me the prescriptions, but there was no real diabetic management. I think that was kind of left to me, in a sense, me and my parents, and we didn't really make any changes. We didn't adjust anything, and I stopped caring. I was drinking regular sodas, eating whatever I wanted, and it wasn't affecting my blood sugars super negatively, but I was definitely probably only in range like 40% of the time maybe, with majority of the out of range being highs. I was always in the 200s. Never failed. And then I got my own doctor whenever I moved out, went to college. And in that time frame, my first A1C was 9.6, which I was always sitting at the 7s whenever I was a kid, which is where they kind of want to keep you. But that was really disappointing, and I realized I didn't really care. I was being shamed by my doctor, which I didn't have a good endocrinologist at that time, who basically shamed me for the weight I had gained while I was in college, shamed me for not caring about my blood sugars and not taking good control, which further put me farther down in the trenches of like not caring, because I was like, well, if I'm gonna get yelled at by a doctor, might as well not care. Oh no, my pump is beeping. How perfect. Hold on, let me figure out what's going on with that. So, funny story, I just left the house, and thankfully I have needles and a vial of insulin, but my pump is almost out of insulin. So that's fun. Anyway, back to where I was at in the story. So I was just really not caring about whether I lived or died, and I honestly kind of made that very evident in everything. And I had definitely felt depression before this, but never in correlation to my diabetes until this point. And I started dating Logan when I was 17, a couple months before I turned 18. And he really saw me go through this, but I didn't really let him in until I moved off to college. And I was talking about my doctors, and I was basically just opening up saying, I don't care. And he kind of had to put that back in me of, I need you to care. I need you to stay alive. I need you to do this for you. I need you. And it really kind of snapped me back to hear it from someone else, because for the longest time, I was like, you know what? If I were to die because I didn't manage my diabetes, it would be a tragic loss, but at the end of the day, my family would recover, my boyfriend would move on, and everyone's lives would go on. No one would have to worry about me anymore. And that's not the mindset to have. And, didn't think I was going to cry in this video. Reminding myself that I felt that way is really hard, because I'm not gonna lie, I got through it, but there are still times that I just don't care. And I have to remind myself that life may go on for these people, but it's not worth giving them all that pain. So, at that time, I was living in Waco. I was 18, almost 19, or roughly about 19. And that's when I really started to come out of the trenches and start to care for myself again. I switched back to diet drinks. For a while, I was trying different things to eat a little healthier, and that hasn't always worked out. But I was starting to care. I was starting to try to manage my diabetes. I got on a CGM. I started on the Freestyle Libre, and then moved over to Dexcom G6. Now I'm on the Dexcom G7. But in that time frame, from the age of 18, when I went to the doctor, my A1C was 9.6. I've now consistently, for the last 3 years, been sitting in the 6s. There's a couple 5.8, 5.9. Haven't been able to get back to that. But I've been sitting at the 6s. And I've been taking care of myself as much as I can. I'm also 24 now, but I was 22, 23, nearly 21, learning my boundaries, learning what's healthy for me, what's not healthy for me, going through different phases in life, hormone changes, all of the above. And I'm still learning. I'm not saying that I'm perfect now just because my A1C has been fairly in good control. I have fairly good numbers for the most part. But then you have days like today where I've been sick. I've been on antibiotics and cough medicine and using an inhaler because I had pneumonia or walking pneumonia. And so being sick already throws your blood sugars off. But then when you're taking medications, those throw your blood sugars off. I also ovulated in the same week. So that's throwing my blood sugars off. And I haven't been feeling good, so I haven't been eating good either. Also, throwing my blood sugars off. So I've been battling major highs for the last several days. And I think that having a string of very hard days can bring back those feelings of, I don't want to care. I just want to say, fuck it, I don't care, and move on. And it's really scary to feel that way because in my head, I don't care. There's really not much that could convince me in this moment if my husband looked at me and said, I need you to care. I don't think I could. But I have to remind myself that it's not just my husband. It's not just my sister. It's not just my dad. It's everyone in my husband's family, everyone in my family, all my friends, my coworkers. While everyone would eventually get over it, that's a pain I don't need to cause. And so there's days like today that my blood sugars are high, and I gave myself insulin this morning when I woke up because I was 279 after eating junk last night and taking medication last night that didn't wake me up when my Dexcom alarm was going off. And I gave myself insulin and I walked around my bedroom and it started to go down, but then it went back up, and now we're still sitting at 270 something. And I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. I didn't come into this life asking for diabetes. I didn't come into this life asking to have to deal with this, have the mental battle every day. What am I going to eat? Is it going to be worth it? How is this going to fuck me up later? And battling whether I care or not. And it's been hard, and really how I get through it is I have to remind myself of all the people I would be affecting if I died. No matter how much it was going to affect them. Even if it's the most simple thing as my job. They would have to put a position out there, an interview, and it would be a waste of time that they wasted training me for the last X amount of months. And that it's just going to be all these things, or that my team has grown to care for me, and that's going to hurt them. I have to find every reason in the book, even if it's a stretch, like, oh, I'm going to be inconvenient for my job to replace. I have to find every reason, because it's not okay to just give up. So, if you are a type 1 diabetic, or really anyone going through anything hard with a disease, you're not alone. It's okay to not care, but you have to put that care back in you. You have to keep going on and keep moving on. You can't give up. And you have to think about all the people who are rooting you on, because they don't know what it's like, but they don't want to lose you either. You're not alone, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go to a doctor, and if you really need to, go to a hospital. Go to a hospital. Get yourself checked out, whether that's for your diabetes management or for your depression and your burnout. Talk to someone. Get a therapist. Find groups, friends, people that can relate. I'm in lots of diabetes groups on Facebook. And I really do plan today to just kind of post and see what other people are saying, or if I can get a little bit of support from someone who understands with diabetic burnout and just depression that comes with that. Because sometimes you need to hear it from the horse's mouth, someone else who's going through it. Anyway, I'm about to go to work and I can't be crying, so just know you're not alone. It's okay, and everyone will get through it. You will get through this.